I can't believe I'm almost, let's see, this is episode 8. I'm just like rocking these out. I'm having so much fun doing these episodes, and I am so happy that you're here coming along with me. And I hope you're enjoying it. Even though all I'm doing is talking about myself. I know, right? But at least I'm giving prompts, and I hope the prompts are helpful and inspiring for you because my goal is to give you something as a takeaway. So, in this episode, I am going to share with you how I came up with the current name of my business, Better 3, and what it really did to help me move toward productization and stop being commoditized and get out of the whole hourly rate type thing. And it's actually pretty cool how it all happened. It was really just through the experience of working with my clients. I started discovering patterns and seeing things that I was like, this is something that's quite chronic that people are experiencing, and I can help with that. I really get into the details of how that happened and the work I was doing. And the prompt I have in this is about where and how in your business you could discover a model and use that model to differentiate, to build products from, and to really kind of help better organize how you present your value to your clients and your customers. I tried to be a little better behaved in this one than I was the last couple. But hey, that's just how I roll, right? That's what we got going on. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to My Solopreneur Life. I'm Terry Pappy, your gracious host, and I am so glad you're here. I have a wonderful episode for you. Sit back, relax, and let's have some real talk about what it is to be a solopreneur. How my business shifted from basically me being a freelance creative, building websites, designing logos, writing copy, all of the things that fall under that category, if you will, to a true strategic business that focused on customer experience, strategic direction, and really just making sure that the brand was as authentic as possible and the communications were as professional as possible. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. So here I am, started my business as a freelancer. I say that basically I was laid off and I was just looking for work. So I just worked by the hour. I already talked about that in a prior episode. Those are the early days of Terry's solopreneur business. Oh my God, it seems like so long ago. Well, it was a long time ago. And within a few years, I started, as my confidence grew, I started seeing patterns. And the patterns were in the types of clients that I was working with. And it wasn't just other solopreneurs or small business. I mean, I had a variety of different engagements that came through, mostly through referrals. And some of them were rather large. Some of them were, mid-size or whatever. But this is what happens when you get referral and you're not really clarifying how you should be referred. You end up getting a mishmash, but it was great experience for me because I was able to really see different ways I could bring my skills to the table and help people with their communications, their marketing, and all those things. What was really cool about it was, it's kind of a haphazard way to develop a business, but through one of my clients, I get to have the exposure of new companies, very innovative, high-tech companies coming out with incredible services, and what they do to build what they're building is really amazing. And I look at the stuff I do and I'm like, oh, I'm so small potatoes. But what I went through when I developed the Better 3 model was specific to the patterns I was seeing in the marketplace, AKA my customers, okay, the people that I was serving. And it's no different than any high-tech company out in the marketplace today. They see a gap or a problem in supply chain, way something is being delivered, a technology backup, just the whole system, whether it's healthcare, education, you name it, okay? They can take advantage of that gap or that, kind of arduous component of a particular operation, and they can create a solution, and that closes that gap. And then they become in demand because they're able to close that gap. So for me, it wasn't necessarily as much that as it was a way for me to position my business, actually rename my business, and create a model that helped me start my differentiation from every Tom, Dick, and Harry wonderful creative out there that was doing similar work. Because the last thing I wanted to do was to compete on my hourly rate. And that was starting to happen rather quickly. And as technology improved when I started my business and things became more automated, accessible online, there became these large aggregators of services from printing to design to websites, you name it. And it became very challenging to stay relevant, stay competitive, and I had to make it up through volume. And that was difficult for me because I didn't want to grow my agency into a big team and have all kind of people. So let me walk you through what I noticed happening regarding this pattern and how I morphed that into a business model that I renamed / rebranded my own business, and to this day still champion in everything that I do. I'm thinking of one very specific client that I had that she basically was referred to me, and she was dictating to me what she wanted. She says, we need a website. And this is back in the day when being at the top of Google ranks was, you could kind of do it organically. Can't really do it organically anymore. But she's like, I want to be like one of the top results in a Google search for what we do. And I was like, okay, great. Well, that's fantastic. So let me learn about your business and what you do. So I spent some time learning about what they did, and it was in healthcare. And to make a long story short, I ended up asking for permission to interview her clients, her past clients, and to get a better understanding not only of what their experience was of working with her, so I could pull that out for positioning of her content, but also how did they find her? In other words, what was the process that they used in order to hire someone like this client? And so I went through and I was interviewing CEOs of major healthcare organizations, having a lot of really great conversations, and came away with some incredible results. And qualitative, just as an aside, qualitative research is something I still do to this day, and it's incredibly valuable for any business. If you have clients, having a third party come in and do qualitative research where you're asking them very specific questions, you're probing, you're getting to the heart of the matter, is a great way to use that information to help that client do a better communication job, a better customer experience job, and perhaps even develop new products. I will be talking about that in future how-to episodes. Believe me, there's so many tricks and things that I am so excited about sharing with you. So, did all this research and come to find that her clients were not finding her by going on Google and typing in blah, 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 which she did. What they were doing is they were picking up a phone and calling a fellow CEO at another healthcare organization and saying, who did you use for this project? And they would say, my client. And 100% across the board, that's exactly how it happened. So why would I follow her request of, doing all the mechanics behind the scenes, getting her, whether it's paid advertising or trying to build the SEO and all that back then that actually worked, to get her on the first page of Google results, when in fact, that's not how people found her or hired her. So that's just one example of what started happening. And a lot of this I did intuitively. Like I would have conversations with my clients and they would make these assumptions about their customers. And I'd be like, okay, that sounds good. And then I'd go and inquire either through the qualitative research or I would do other kinds of research so I could really find out, was this true? Was it validated by real experiences? Or was my client basically just reading something somewhere or doing what everybody else was doing, right? And at the time, the internet and websites and marketing online, it was also still so new in 2006, those first years that I had my business. And so a lot of folks really didn't know how to navigate it from a marketing perspective. And everything was like the hot thing, like what's that shiny toy that everybody's doing right now? Let's do that, right? It was really smart for me to reach into any client that I was doing work for and truly discover what was making them successful and what their customers really needed, where the pain existed, and how we could pull that all together in their content and how they marketed. That was one component. My clients were coming to me and they didn't have a full understanding of their customer. They just didn't really know. They made a lot of assumptions, they made a lot of generalizations, and they never had anybody really help them clarify who their customer truly was, what their customer journey was, and how they could improve all that through better communications, better experience, and the way they delivered their service. That was one component. The second one was kind of a given because everything that I created was always an improvement of their brand, their communication, and all the different touch points along that customer journey. So it's not just, hey, let's just do a cool website with a cool logo. Ooh, it's more than that. It's like, how does that customer first come across you? What are they seeing? Are they seeing something on social media? Are they seeing an ad? Are they getting a direct mail piece in the mail? Are they getting a referral? If the referral's coming in, what is the referrer sending them to? Are they sending them to a profile, an about page, a sales page? Do you really know, right? So all of these things are part of the communication spectrum along the customer journey. And that's how I was looking, because I learned a lot about customer experience working with Marriott, as well as some of the clients that I had, in particular Roy Barnes, amazing customer experience trainer and consultant. And I love it because I'm all about creating a great experience, right? For customers, for anyone who I work with. A lot of these clients would come to me and they'd have different things all over the place. They'd have their logo was designed by some friend, or their website was something they did on GoDaddy. It was very rudimentary, pushed together, or it was developed by someone else that they didn't have control over if it was a larger organization and so on. I would walk into this kind of mess where things were very inconsistent. Not only did we need to obviously improve the quality of the communications, how it looked, how it read, how it was presented, but it was also about, is it consistent? And that was probably the thing that was most missing, was consistency. And looking at all their customer touch points, looking at all their communications and kind of corralling it, getting rid of the old stuff that didn't work. If they had anything that had merit that we could repurpose, reuse, or just brighten up a little bit, absolutely we're going to do that. The second component was communications, making sure we have the most professional and adequate and up-to-date communications out there so it hits every customer touch point. The first thing was about really knowing your customer. Second thing, really good communications, okay? The third thing is something that to this day I think is the most valuable thing in sales, and that is referral business and lifetime customer value. What the lifetime customer value is, if you have a client or a customer and it's one and done and they're gone, like there's no maintenance, there's no ongoing service that you provide, There's no come back to them later and do an upsell. It depends on the industry, the service, and your business, obviously. Then you're really missing an opportunity. All you really have at that point is just the referral business. So there's two components that will help you save on marketing dollars and sales dollars. And that is how you manage the relationship of any customer and getting them to refer you, advocate you, and really reinforce your brand, okay? Because you have to deliver a great experience in order for them to do that, right? So that's part of the experience thing. The second thing is the more work you can do for that customer, whether it's additional maintenance service, like, when you get your HVAC guy, he comes in and installs a new air conditioning unit and they sell you a maintenance contract. It's like, well, okay, great. So they come out twice a year, they tweak everything, they flush it out, whatever they do. Not my area. And they charge you a couple $100 a year. Well, that's nice service for them. That's an ongoing customer. And of course, the likelihood that when your system does require a major service or a replacement, that 5-10 years down the road, because you've been in that maintenance agreement, you're more than likely to use that company unless you've had a bad experience, okay? So how much are you, I hate to say this, but how much are you squeezing out of your clients? How much wallet share is another term that's used quite frequently in these instances. Can you get out of that? Now, what drives that is the experience you're creating. So if you're providing amazing service, like everything today is all about reviews, right? So when you go to hire anybody that you find on Yelp or wherever online, the first thing you do is check out their reviews. Go on Google, look at their reviews. 5 stars, okay, they're in, right? I'm going to give them a try. So reading and looking at reviews are huge today, and that will continue to be a very valuable way for people to grow their business and get new businesses through reviews. That's for a different type of business, obviously, more retail, consumer-based. However, if you're creating a great experience, that customer is going to refer you, whether you like it or not. It's a feather in their cap to whoever they're sending to you is a good thing, because it's like, yeah, I'll get you somebody good. Here, let me hook you up with Terry. She's really good. She'll take care of you, right? So those are the 3 components. So the first one being understanding the customer, second one being professional communications, and the third is relationships. What type of service are you delivering? So I started looking at these 3 core areas where I was seeing some real consistent patterns, kind of breakdowns, very common ailments, if you will, of my clients that they were struggling with, that they didn't have the objectivity that I could bring to the table because I'm outside of their company, right? They're looking and delivering their service day in and day out. They just didn't have that objectivity. They couldn't see their customer for who they really were. And they were also, a lot of them, check this out, a lot of them were afraid to ask their customers what they really thought of them. And that's a scary place to be when you're afraid of your customer, right? It's like, oh my God, what if, I don't know. I've actually had clients tell me that when I've proposed that we try some qualitative research, and they'd be like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to know what they think. So, that's a red flag right there. But I can understand that sentiment when something like that is proposed. But here's the thing, it's so important in shoring up the relationship. Like when I would do this qualitative research, my clients' customers would circle back to my client and say, you know what, that conversation I had with Terry was really great. Thank you so much for having someone reach out and ask me what my experience was. That really mattered a lot. And the fact that it goes full circle like that, and that's happened many, many times when I've done qualitative research for my clients. And so I know it's a win-win because you can only get valuable information. And when I do qualitative research, I always put together a document, like a report. I call it a communications discovery. And I always make a list of suggested implementation, like how can you deal with this? Okay, so if there's a pattern in what your customers are saying, then here are some ways that you can fix that, go back and, maybe operate a little differently or whatever. And incredible like operational stuff can come out of that. It's not just how you communicate, it's actual things like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize we were creating that problem in the way we delivered our service. So thank you so much. Now we know we can fix that easily. So these are really great opportunities to do this work. I mean, honestly, I I love talking to people. As you can imagine, given that I'm sitting here in front of a microphone talking to you. But back to the three things. So I started looking at these and I was like, okay, here I am in my business. I'm charging by the hour. I don't really, this is even way before I productized my services. This was like my intermediary step of really identifying what I was all about as a solopreneur, what my business was like, the real persona of my business, if you will. I took these three things and I was like, these are the three things, like this model, this triumvirate, right? If you have a Venn diagram and you actually have a Venn diagram of this exact thing, relationships, and it's basically equals a really solid business. If you're taking care of all of those three areas, then you have a solid business. I started looking at that and decided to change the name of my business from Terry Pepe Creative Services, which was super unique. I'm so creative. But I mean, as a freelancer, it was there. But I changed it to Better 3. And so my positioning was better understanding of your customer, so you know how to communicate with them and serve them. That was the first one. The second one was better communications, making sure that your customer journey, all your customer touch points are consistent and that there's a consistent experience for your customers and prospects. And then the third is better relationships. And the relationships come out of a great experience, a continuation of the relationship, meaning how can we continue to serve you? So that was what I was talking about with wallet share and trying to create real customer lifetime value. As you know, you and I have many, many subscriptions, whether it's Amazon Prime or Netflix or what have you. And that is the new, how do we stay up in your face and keep getting money from you? Subscription models are very popular for that reason, because it's revenue that you can anticipate and bank on. Okay, so we have better understanding, better communications, and better relationships. I almost forgot the third one. Just talking too much. That's the problem, right? But what's cool about that, I was like, wow, that's it. That's my little Venn diagram model, right? And it's relationship health, right? It's all about business health. It's all about getting your clients what they need, solving their problems. And that's where Better 3 came from. So Better 3, and it's BETTER, the number 3, because there's 3, 3 buckets, if you will. To this day, that is the model for my business, is focusing on those 3 areas. And the products that I have actually fall into those categories. And I'll talk about that in another episode, maybe the next one, I don't know. But so for this episode, the prompt I want to give you is, what patterns are you seeing in your business that you could actually derive a model similar to what I did that enables you to differentiate how you approach business so you don't become a commodity, so it leads you to creating products out of your services so you, again, don't become a commodity and you can't be compared to anybody else because you're not selling by the hour, you're not selling by the project, if you will, you're selling an actual result. And that's what productization is all about. Doesn't work for every business, but in most cases, you can create products and sell the products, because if the products are, here I am getting ahead of myself. If the products are about deriving a result, then you could sell it all day long. So I'll get into that in another episode. So the prompt is, where in your business could you come up with a similar model? And it doesn't have to be 3. It can be 2. It can, it has to have something, some sort of building block in it, that when all of those elements are put together, they equal who you are and the total outcome experience you provide. That's your prompt for today. Very simple. Think about how you can create a model that you can use in your business to differentiate, create your brand, maybe adjust your name like I did. I mean, I actually had an LLC under Terry Pappy Creative Services and I changed it. That is how Better 3 came into being. So go find your Better 3 in your business, and I'll see you soon. Well, I know you're disappointed, but that's it for this episode. Listen, the great news is there's another one coming, so stay tuned. Anyway, I just want to make sure that you do the prompt if this episode had a prompt and you get that homework done because you're going to be a better solopreneur. How's that for a maternal finger shaking at you? Hey, listen, thanks so much for being here, for giving me time of your day, and, for taking it on. So if you want to learn more and stay connected with me, just head on over to mysolopreneurlife.com. Thanks a bunch. See you soon. That was pretty good. I think I'll keep that one.